Let's continue with our discussion of arrays. Sometimes it's useful to be able to access, starting at the beginning, each element in the array. So let's say we've got one more assignment statement here. Let's say test 2 equals 95. Continue the upward trend. Now, we want to be able to access all of those elements. Perhaps we want to average them. Perhaps we want to calculate the average test score. In fact, let's do that now. So if we need an average, we need two variables, don't we? We need to know what the sum of all the elements is, plus we need to know how many are there. So let's create a variable, int sum equals 0, where I'm going to store my sum. And how would we traverse this array? Well, it's very important to realize that the array length is fixed. We know how many elements are here. So what kind of loop do we use? When we want to traverse, it means we want to loop. What kind of loop do we use when we know how many elements are there? A for loop is ideally suited to accessing an array. For int I equals 0, because 0 is the first element of the array. I less than, what's the name of the array? It's tests. Tests dot length is how long the array is, how many elements there are. Get that out of my tests dot length. So what is the length of my array called tests? If you said 3, you're absolutely right, because I put 3 right there. So test.length is the 3, how many elements there are. So since I start at 0, I want to keep looping while I is less than tests.length. Semicolon, I plus plus. I want to add 1 each time through the loop. So what am I going to do inside this loop? Inside this loop, I'm going to say sum plus equals, because I'm adding to sum. And I want to say tests. And because it's an array, I always need the subscript, sub I, because I is what's changing each time through the loop. And I can be used to access each element. The first time through the loop, it's going to be 0. Second time through the loop, it's going to be 1. Third time through the loop, it's going to be 2. Now, we've summed them all up, so how do we calculate the average? I don't know what we're intending to do with this average. Let's just say we're calculating it. So double, notice I made it a double because it is an average. And what have I got here? Sum is an int, and I want to divide it by the total number that are there, which is also an int. So if I want to come up with a double, I have to use a cast, don't I? So I'm going to cast double sum divided by tests.length. Oops, run out of room here. Over the red line of doom. Sum divided by test.length. But the problem is that the divide has a higher precedence than the cast. So I need to make sure that I put this cast, the whole thing there, in parentheses. And that will correctly calculate the average of all of them there. If you wanted to print all of the, if you wanted to output all of the elements in the array, how might you do that? It's a similar traversal algorithm. So this algorithm right here is for calculating the average. And here this algorithm is going to be for a traversal. A traversal means that you start at the beginning and you visit each element until you get to the end. So this is a traversal algorithm. It's a simple for loop for int I equals 0, I less than tests dot length, so the length of the array, I plus plus, and in this case all I'm going to do is output them system.out.print tests sub I. It's a simple traversal algorithm. Something you must remember about arrays, I'll make this as a comment, arrays are fixed length. What does that mean? It means you set up how big they are when you declare them, as in this case, I made it 3. I can't change that. I can't take away some elements or add some more elements, it's got a length of 3. You don't have to use all of the elements in your array, but it is a fixed length. So to summarize, this video showed us calculating an average, it showed us traversing an array, and it let us know that arrays are fixed length. They cannot be resized once you've created them.